Greetings, I'm Inferno, and in the company's 90-year history, the LEGO Group has undergone many changes in its presentation and overall brand identity. So a while ago, I began thinking about how every decade or so, LEGO makes distinct shifts in its presentation, aesthetics, and general marketing, which led me to make this. It's a chart, which like how Disney's animated history is cut into eras, I decided to do the same for LEGO. It might not be perfect, but it does its job, creating what I like to call the eras of LEGO. Let's get into it. Before I do, subscribe if you want. I don't like forcing people to do it, but I do know it works, so do consider subscribing. Now, onto the video. The history of LEGO goes back further than the early 30s, but for the sake of this video, I'm starting when LEGO was founded. If you want to know more about LEGO's early history, there's plenty of YouTube videos out there, including one from LEGO themselves. Anyways, it was these first 2 decades where LEGO really started out, making wooden toys as a small family business in Billund, Denmark. This is also where the name of the company was born, being a combination of the Danish phrase "leg godt," which roughly means play well in English. I'm assuming most people watching this know that piece of trivia, but filler is fun when you know that everyone who would have nostalgia for this era is dead. Their most iconic set, or toy, I guess, from this era is of course the wooden duck, which gets referenced all the time for anniversaries or even sometimes in random stuff like advent calendars, that toy being the only real hallmark of this era. Now, I know LEGO didn't permanently switch to plastic bricks until 1960, but I see this era ending in 1947 as Ole Kirk Christiansen purchased a plastic injection molding machine that year, marking the beginning of LEGO as we know them today. LEGO in the late 40s to late 60s had to define what it was if it wanted to succeed, which is why out of all the eras, this one is easily the longest. This era saw the company put itself on the map by giving a name to the automatic binding bricks as they became officially known as LEGO bricks. An implementation of a system of play, tubes being used in the underneath bricks, thus making them what they are today and have been ever since, Godfrey taking over leadership after Ole's death in 1958, and the second fire to the woodworking warehouse, thus leading them to switch to plastic bricks permanently, and the decline of feat quality everywhere, as well as a multitude of other landmark accomplishments. But probably the most important achievement, bar none, was them getting to the international market, whether it was parts of Europe or their partnership with the luggage company Samsonite for North America in 1961. This helped set LEGO on the path to where they would eventually end up in the coming decades. This era's key attributes are the system logo at the bottom of the logo and the strips of color around where the logo was placed. Smaller diorama-esque buildings with different shapes and sizes of bricks being used as the only pieces in the catalog. Slips did not come into the repertoire for a little while. Smiling children in the black and white TV advertising with period-appropriate jingles and on the covers of set boxes, and the pieces being primarily organized inside the box. Alright, this is where the fun begins. In this era, LEGO focused mostly on expansion, with a focus on appealing more towards girls being taken, and thank God the internet was not around during the 70s, because Jesus Christ, I don't want to know what people were thinking. Introducing more proper train tracks, floatable boats, expert series involving to a little theme that you may or may not have heard of. It's called Technic, and its first North American facility being open in Connecticut, and its deal with Samsonite ending in 1972. Brick Kicks, or LEGO Magazine as it's widely known as, started in 1987, which would be a major part of LEGO even to this day. And in 1978, people came to LEGO. No, not actual people, rather the first minifigures were invented, this police officer being the very first one. They were a modest success. This era saw the introduction of all-time classic themes like space, castle, town, Fabuland, the aforementioned Technic, and even more. These themes would go on to define LEGO to a degree, with many AFOLs still feeling nostalgia towards at least a few of these themes to this day, typically through mocks and stuff at conventions. And even LEGO loves referencing these themes all the time in current sets. But this era was where LEGO really started to explode, with ads that contained stop-motion assembly of sets. Only was it where they started to get really popular, but shaped where their future was going. This is one of 2 transition eras, as I just now decided to call them. I think you can understand what they represent. The Silver Age is where things were stable, but were comparably worse than before. This is also where LEGO started to get into their weird phase with advertising, with the Zack the Lego Maniac commercials beginning in 1988, with similar strange ads lasting throughout this and the next era. They aren't bad, but are early 90s commercials. What did you expect? This era also saw the brick patent expire, which would lead to, you guessed it, LEGO copycats, or as we like to call them in the trade, boot Lego. But on the brighter side, this era is defined by a strange fusion of the golden age and the next, with there still being a semblance of the advertising aesthetic from the mid-80s, but incorporating the strange 90s hallmarks like the obligatory rap jingle. Iconic themes being pirates, the fourth member of what I like to call the classic quartet, Belleville, continuing Lego's push to market towards girls, and freestyle, as well as seeing continuations to the previously introduced themes like space and castle, with sub-themes like Forestmen, Crusaders, and Wolfpack for castle, and Space Police 1, 2, Blacktron 2, and Ice Planet 2002, there's a lot of twos, for space. But as many of you know, things for Lego went from a gradual decline to a rapid one. I honestly think I can make an entire video on this era, but in case I don't, which is all but certain, here's a summary that is anything but quick. The switch between the Silver and Bronze Age, or more pessimistically, the Dark Age, began around 1995 when LEGO laid off a bunch of workers who had been around since the 70s, and replaced them with less experienced ones, leading to sets that were less sophisticated and with lower build time in mind. And I feel this quote from a somewhat important figure in LEGO's history, Christian Faber, sums it up best. A lot of talks about what LEGO should do with their old-fashioned product. They were left in the back of the toy store, because when people went into a toy store, they always went through the whole toy store, and when they didn't find anything, they just took LEGO down from the shelf as a present. It was always the safety net. All the cool toys were at the front. They wouldn't even come to the LEGO aisle. Now, I did make a few adjustments, but you do get the gist. LEGO was in a tough spot, and kids were not really interested in LEGO anymore. It also didn't help that Pokemania started right as the Dark Age began. In an effort to save themselves, LEGO did a lot of weird things, such as even more absurd advertising, with a new LEGO Maniac and a jingle that just screams the 90s. Strange themes like Snap, no, we are not going back there, Time Cruisers, and the infamous Galador and Jack Stone. And LEGO did also make some risky decisions, beginning to license properties for LEGO themes, and looking outside the company for help. In 1999, Star Wars sets began to be made, with Harry Potter in 2001, and many others later on. Outside help came via the advertising agency Advanced Copenhagen, which LEGO was and I still think is a client of to this day, with the aforementioned Christian Faber helping LEGO come up with its own original story-driven theme. He had a hand in creating the ball joint system, and the first theme it was used with was Slicers, or Throwbots in North America, eventually culminating in Bionicle, which advertising and story-driven focus on multimedia became one of the biggest successes in the company's history. And with the combined force to Bionicle and licensed themes like Star Wars and Harry Potter, kept LEGO from falling into non-existence. Not to say things were fine. In 2003, they almost went bankrupt, but this is one of the most crucial eras as it made sure LEGO had a future, while also passing off the company to Jørgen Verkunstrup. I really hope I didn't pronounce that horribly. The first person outside of the Christiansen family to become CEO. Some notable themes from this era are Bionicle, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Adventurers, Aquazone, Time Cruisers, Island Extreme Stunts, Studios, Sports, Western, which I'm surprised no one has canceled yet. Jesus Christ, those Native American face prints, and some of even the gross themes like Galador and Jack Stone, and the bane of my existence. But remember, the darkest part of the night is always before the dawn. Now, I think that you could make the argument that this era could fit cleanly into the next, as it is the shortest, and even I have toyed with this idea, but I think that this small era is distinct enough to be separate, because after being knocked down, you need to get back on your feet before you can start running again. 2005 is really the turning point. Even Wikipedia thinks so. But one notable thing with this era is that LEGO started to get a little bit edgier with their marketing and themes to a lesser degree, with later Bionicle years going hard into darker colors and even gritty advertising, with alt-rock blasting in the background, being something my mind likes attributing to this era. Dino Attack being set in a city on fire with actual military tanks, where the point was to actually murder the dinosaurs, getting them in trouble in Europe, of course. And other themes like Exoforce targeting more of a tween demographic. More themes got storylines to advertise and give kids something to act out on the bedroom floor, as a direct correlation to Bionicle's booming success. And it also saw the pseudo-death of classic space, as Mars Mission was released in 2007, and saw a shift from exploration to straight-up combat, which isn't bad, but was slightly less original, but still fun, and I love it. LEGO's biggest testament to them as a staying power also launched at the beginning of this era. LEGO Vikings, psych, it's LEGO City. but you probably knew that. And man, this theme is something else. I always love the commercials, and I know you probably thought of a joke about how a man fell in the river and there's always mayhem going on, and the hey! And it was probably a pretty good joke, but Lego City is one of the best examples of a modern town theme, with a scope that can go far beyond just cops and firefighters. Architecture started in this era, as well as the now famous modular buildings, these being more for the AFOL market, but would go on to be massive successes to this very day. LEGO also decided to license more IPs to make sets for, Batman being the most important, as it got a video game released just 2 years after its inception, before ending the same year, as well as Indiana Jones to tie into the Crystal Skull. Avatar: The Last Airbender got 2 sets because SpongeBob happened the same year and it completely eclipsed it. These weren't the majority, nor strange nor obscure, even if there were a few odd ones, but they peacefully coexisted for a time. Some notable themes from this era would be City, Exoforce, Vikings, Batman, Indiana Jones, SpongeBob, Dino Attack, Architecture, and for the timeline, I originally had Bionicle 2006 as the image for this era, but I changed it because the theme was not introduced in this era. Although, on the other hand, it was one of the most influential themes from this era, so I don't know. What do you think? After LEGO got back in a financially stable space, they could finally have a rebirth, if you will. Another reason I like to separate the Redefining Itself era from this one is because of general marketing and brand appearance. Case in point, LEGO Club didn't take over the magazine until 2009, and that's when things started to mark a change for the company. Not for the worse. In fact, the opposite is true. This era saw the company do better than it ever had prior, with more themes than I could list in a manageable time frame. At the beginning, old hallmarks from the previous 2 eras faded away, or were heavily changed, with themes like SpongeBob and of course Bionicle Generation 1 ending pretty early on. But for this era, when one older theme ended, 3 more took its place. Because oh my god, there were so many original themes, and licensed ones to a lesser degree. Almost every topic that LEGO could cover, they did. Want underwater stuff that is really interesting submarines and sea creatures? Boom, Atlantis. Want to call back to LEGO Adventures for a more modern age? Bam, Pharaoh's Quest. Rock Raiders, but better in almost every single way? You got Power Miners. Can't be Halloween monsters? Monster Fighters is there. Hell, LEGO Space's combat-driven side got better, with a Space Police reboot being the best out of the 3 by a landslide, Alien Conquest, which is okay, and of course Galaxy Squad, not only being my favorite space theme, but one of my favorite LEGO themes of all time. And you like Castle and Pirates? Well, how about you get 2 reboots each? Oh, and licensed themes. There were so many great ones, like Toy Story, Lord of the Rings, Pirates of the Caribbean, Minecraft, Jurassic World, and even Speed Champions, all fitting the LEGO feel, but never really dominating. This is also where Construction entered its peak. With Bionicle having done its job, they ended things to preserve sales and made a new theme to test the waters if it was Bionicle or Construction not selling well. And that theme was Hero Factory, one of, if not my favorite themes. Could you tell? And 1 year after Hero Factory's inception, the Character and Creature Building System was born, more commonly known as CCBS. And I was fortunate to be there for its explosive beginning and the whimper of its end. But in the early 2010s, Construction was bigger than it ever had been, and that showed, with it expanding to other themes, leaving them enough confidence to bring back Bionicle in 2015, which pretty much single-handedly killed all interest in Construction because of dumb decisions like releasing Star Wars figures at the same time and bad marketing and all this other stuff. Even more story themes came out. Hero Factory was one, but LEGO's appeal to girls also had stories, like elves and even friends to a degree, the latter causing a bit of a controversy when it came out. Mixels is another one, but it had less of a story and a lot less continuity than others. But I always thought Mixels was quirky and fun because I own every single one of them, please help me God. Oh, and Ninjago. If one theme defined what this era was all about, it was Ninjago, for better or worse. It pulled out all the stops, and even woke up right at the beginning of its funeral like nothing happened. But as I've gotten older, it's become one of the themes that I have so much nostalgically to gush about, but in its modern form, so much to despise. But that's a video for another day. The reason why I say that it sort of defined what this era was all about was because it spawned themes that tried to recapture some of that success. Chima being the big one, as it was made to be a successor and by the same people. And don't shoot me, but I don't think Chima was that bad. And as one final theme from this era, we got Nexonites, containing aspects from story themes from this era, as well as leaving a little hint to where things would be going. And the multimedia that came out of this era, oh my god. Like LEGO board games, which a lot of them still hold up to this day. LEGO's foray into blind bags with collectible minifigures, that's still running strong to this day. Now, I do know that these last two are themes, but they aren't like your typical themes, so I decided to keep them separate. Back on track, the magazine was completely turned into LEGO Club, and the mascot character Max in every single issue. Complain about his plastic smile, no pun intended, all you want, but he's one of those pieces of this era that always just jumps out at me, as well as the iconic Wind Kid gracing the backs of the instruction manuals in 2015, and the LEGO Club show being really weird. LEGO also got more into technology with more video games for consoles and the amazing web games that I played the shit out of as a kid. The TV specials, shows, and even movies made to tie into the products that served as not only great ways to advertise sets, but actually kind of good pieces of entertainment media, not gonna lie. LEGO made amazing commercials during this era, no joke at all. The ones on TV hit an all-time high, and the one they put in movie theaters was also pretty good. Kidding aside, the LEGO movie is another testament to how successful LEGO was in this era. Being able to pull something like this off was impossible, say, in the 80s. Looking back, this truly was a rebirth for LEGO, with profitability being more than it ever had been before, and with things like the LEGO movie also helping normalizing LEGO as a hobby for every age bracket, not just kids. But after a ride like this, you need to continue trucking along at a steady pace. And that brings us to today. I'll spend less time on this compared to the other eras since we're currently living through this one, but we also might not be. Even though I haven't noticed a shift in marketing, your mileage may vary. I'll mark the transition from the Renaissance to post-Renaissance when the LEGO Life app launched in 2017, which is also when the magazine changed from LEGO Club magazine to LEGO Life magazine, and is also coincidentally when my last issue arrived in the mail because I was too old, thus leading me to think it was the switch from LEGO Club to LEGO Life branding being the reason behind the cancellation. Speaking of LEGO Life, at the very beginning of the era, the LEGO Life app was launched and replaced the online LEGO message boards. It's basically a kid-safe version of something like Instagram, where kids get to share their LEGO creations around the world. I have the app, which I only use to send stickers to people I text to. On the topic of apps, LEGO has begun to lean heavily towards tech integration in this era. I like to say that themes like Nexo Knights and even Ultra Agents to a lesser extent were trying to prepare or more cynically warn us for what was to come, as more and more themes had app elements and integration that were in some cases crucial to the theme. Hidden Side was a crossroad between a theme of before and a theme of the future, as it had some of the best sets an original theme had ever had in a while, all while having it be a tie-in to the app, which, coupled with the really cryptic box art, brought the theme to its knees prematurely. For themes that went hard on tech, look no further than LEGO Mario and LEGO Video. Mario is weird, but is honestly the best way you could translate the game experience to the real world. And I'll opt to save my thoughts on LEGO Video for the next Brick Mysteries. It's not called laziness if you've made your points in something else upcoming. As LEGO rode their high from the Renaissance era, they managed to do a lot, like pumping out 3 more LEGO movies while also coincidentally having its sales drop in the first year of this era. But it has recovered since, and I remember a lot of people freaking out when this happened, but the community exaggerates everything, so I really don't know, and honestly don't care. No matter your age, you probably felt at least a little nostalgic. Whether it was seeing commercials, looking at set boxes, or me just talking about certain themes, seeing the toys that you used to play with can just take you back to the good old days, when things didn't matter. Hell, my own nostalgic biases came into play, with me spending the most time on the Renaissance era, the era I grew up with. But now you might look at all the sets coming out today and say, the kids today will never know what it's like, or it's not the same anymore. I too can echo these same sentiments. And sure, that may be true, but look at the sets you grew up with, hell, anything that you grew up loving, and ask yourself this: do I like this because it's still good and has held up over the years, or is it because of my personal memories associated with it? Just looking around at my hoard of nostalgic relics, I frankly don't even know if there's a clear-cut answer to my own question. The future may be unpredictable, and nostalgia, as selfish as it is, may be comforting. We can't let it cloud our judgment of today and the present. We should be thankful that our or your past happened. Our minds, and to a greater extent the internet, are the closest things we have to a time machine, and that's awesome. What I want people to take away from this tangent and as a whole video is that a sense of yearning is okay, but it shouldn't cloud how you perceive the present. And as stumped as I am trying to find something to tie this together, I'd use someone else's words, but I don't want to sound like I'm phoning it in. This has been Eighth Furno, and until next time, See you around.